Oh, thanks, Chris. Thanks for doing that. All right, so recording in progress. Got it. Sorry, but whatever. So this is our Vet to Viz segment. If anybody wants to share, any first timers that are here, want to share how you got into this industry. You don't need to be a veteran per se to share, just how you got into data, what your connection to the veteran community is, whether you're a veteran yourself or you're just an advocate or whatever. And these are some questions to guide you along. So any volunteers for that?
I'll kick it off, and then
Thanks.
if anybody else wants to go ahead, then that's fine.
Wait, Jamie, were you clapping or are you raising your hand?
Raising my hand.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. Thanks.
So, my name is Jamie Gergadis. My grandparents, both my grandfather on both sides, was in World War II on the Eastern Front and the Western Front. So one was on either side, kind of thing. I don't have any vet, connection other than I really advocate for it for the American Marketing Association here in New Jersey. I was the past president, and we really try and help people and veterans and stuff like that getting into the industry. So my background is market research, data collection. So last month's thing was very appropriate to what I do as an industry. My challenge is moving into data analytics. I have a lot of the statistics and stuff like that, but more of the, I guess, confidence in getting into data analytics kind of thing, or transitioning over is what my challenge was. And that's what intrigued me on this whole topic that you guys have coming up today. So,
well, thanks for sharing and welcome. Is this your first time?
Second.
Yeah.
Cool. Thank you.
The last one.
Thanks for coming back.
Yeah. That's a common theme in a lot of the stories we hear is just, I think, like, data as a practice, data science, whatever you want to call it. It's new to where, like, coming from another area is not necessarily going to hurt you. It'd probably help you, especially like if you come into like a specific domain, right? So, like, for instance, federal government auditing, right? It's just, if you have a financial background and you know how the budgeting system works, and you go into an auditing capacity, then you're going to have a leg up in terms of knowing what to look for when you're going through all that data, because it's massive. It's a massive trove of data. But having that background doesn't necessarily hurt you. You said you had a statistics background. That's definitely going to help as well. So, I mean, a lot of it is just, constantly trying to stay current at what's the latest and greatest, keep your head down. And I mean, me personally, like, I kind of try to schedule 30 to 60 minutes a day where I'm trying to work something out that I've never done before. And then the rest of the day, hopefully I try to apply it. Personally, me, I didn't come from a data analytic job before I got my current position. I did SharePoint for the longest time, did a little bit of Tableau at VBA, but really was doing a lot of Alteryx, SharePoint, Power Platform, more like Power App stuff. So doing like a lot of like other things in addition to my job, but then I finally moved over to the IG. So I think when you come into this sphere, it's like you'll see a lot of people that just like to learn, just like to collaborate, and as long as you have that mindset, you'll be fine.
Yeah, definitely. I certainly didn't get into data until I was actually at the FAA. So, I mean, it's, especially with Tableau, it does make it easy to learn it and get it and jump right into it. So, but we definitely need more vets in this field. Anyone else? Chris, did you want to share finish yours story?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was working claims, and I think disability claims, stuff that hits the paper. So, hopefully I don't get any hate mail after this. But just so I was always kind of looking for ways to streamline things, because I just saw things that could be improved for veterans and their spouses and their families. So personally, I just spent a lot of time in my off-duty hours, I still kind of do, just looking for data that could help veterans, just sort of hunting, searching for data, going through it. And I come to find out over, a long time of doing that, that I liked it. You don't spend 16 months of your life going through Vietnam data and cleaning it and converting it from Indian 1960 to WGS 1984 if you didn't like data. You don't do all that. So yeah, I liked it. I liked finding ways to streamline things, and that kind of fit my brain. Liked organizing and prepping data, and that's still what I like to do. So you'll see me posting about data prep, and I try to do it. Although, like, I know Python decently. I try to post on things that everybody has access to, because that was another one of my issues, was just having access to systems at work that I could use. But now I don't really have that problem. I was able to kind of work my way into a position where I have databases, I have things at my disposal, I can run Python. So it was a long process, but again, I think just committing to learning and doing it in a sustainable way where you're not. I worked with other people that would watch YouTube videos for hours every day, and they wouldn't retain anything because it was just too much overload. But doing it in a sustainable way, like, I mean, Kedeisha will get to it probably in her presentation, but like, for instance, this week, she published SQL challenge. I was like, yeah, I could probably practice SQL. I should probably practice that. And it didn't take too much time, knocked it out, did a couple challenges, and went about my day. And I was like, okay, I need to work on things there, because I don't think that was the most efficient thing. So, yep, that's what I got.
Thanks, Chris. Frank, you have your hand up.
Hello, my name is Frank Coleman, and this is my this is my first time joining you guys. I'm not a veteran, but I'm in a Discord group with Kedeisha, and she invited us and said it was okay. So I joined. Right now, I'm a financial analyst with a defense company, and I am looking to get into business intelligence. So I'm, practicing SQL and about to start practicing Tableau again. So yeah, just, I guess, happy to be on and learn from you guys.
I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, and everybody's welcome. I think we do have a branding issue that we need to clarify. It used to actually be veterans Tableau user group, and we just kind of tried to tell people it was open to everybody, but then we changed it to advocacy, and it's kind of a tongue twister too. So I don't know. We'll figure it out. But I appreciate it. Yeah, everyone's welcome. Anybody who has some sort of tie to the community or just wants to hang out and chat. But yeah, so I actually had a lunch with some people today that founders of certain veterans organizations, to try to kind of network with people, and one of them was the American Warrior Partnership, and then another one he started was Hiring Heroes, I think it was called, and they say that what we do, creating dashboards and data and all that stuff, is actually really needed in those kind of organizations, because a lot of them And what we're finding is that they just have testimonials that are like, wow, this program is really great, changed my life, but they don't actually have any objective data to back that up. So if we had these dashboards and data analytics to back up their testimonials, that I think that would, they get investors and, I guess really not investors, but donations and things like that. So I think it would really help out if they actually had something to show. It's like, look at how well it's improving people's lives instead of just like testimonials. So
Yeah, and
is
honestly,
it-
on that, to piggyback on that, like a grant application, if you could tie like a dashboard to a grant application,
Yeah,
and
right.
they say, yeah, so that's like, there's so many things that becomes helpful for, especially like when, like even Dr. Guthrie on the Survey 32, like he applies for National Endowment for Humanities grants, and he was, so like hit that dashboards that we use, and then also Project Echelon, like that was a perfect example where like kind of collating and organizing and putting it into a very clear, very easy
Yeah.
to read, very user friendly. It's its own artifact for a grant, but it's also a call to action on your website.
Yeah. And for those of you, I feel like I talk about Project Echelon all the time, but for those of you who don't know, they are a veterans organization that centers around empowering and training vets through athletics, improving their mental health and even physical health through athletics, mainly through cycling. They're also a UCI, which is like the international bike cycling organization. They've just become a UCI continental pro team, and they were in Spain. They're going to be in Colombia. So they're racing with Project Echelon jerseys on. So they are their main sponsors. So you see like Trek out there with their sponsors, and you see like Sky over in Europe with the World Tours and the EF. They're riding with Project Echelon on there. So they're kind of with a veterans organization, and they're riding around the world. So that's cool. So what we did for them, we did they had, like I said, they had no objective evidence that what they were doing was improving lives. They just had the testimonials. So we got together with them, and we had a survey. We helped them create a survey, and they sent it out to their veterans, and they came basically, how were you before the program and how were you after the program or during the program, since they're still involved in it. And they rated themselves a certain way, and how they are feeling now. And they have like evidence showing that I don't know if it's 100% objective, but it's how the veterans felt. Like I was pretty bad off before Project Echelon. Now, like with cycling and with the support, they're now at like, so for instance, so it'd be like 4.5 before, and now they're at like a 8.3 or whatever. So, and now they have graphs on their website. So we sent them to it, and it's actually on their about website now. So it's things like that, which we like to do here, and we hope to do more. So if you're interested, stick with us, and there'll be opportunities for you to help out. So I think that's enough of that. Let's click. What's our next? I think Kedeisha, you're up next. Hold on. Yep. So Kedeisha Bryan, she is our guest speaker. She's a senior data engineer at Booz Allen Hamilton, and I know everyone forgets Hamilton, so I'm glad we have Booz Allen Hamilton up there. And she also is a co-founder and community leader at Data in Motion, which I kind of just started looking into, and it's really impressive what she has done. And you're a one-woman show, right? Or are you, with all your challenges?
Well, the challenge is I'm by myself, but I do have like a small team that I work with.
Okay, but her challenge, she has what, monthly data Tableau challenges and weekly SQL? Yeah.
Weekly SQL, pandas, and Python, and then monthly data viz. Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really impressive. So if and you have a Discord and everything, but I'm sure you might get into that later. So I don't want to steal your thunder. So, and a Navy veteran, which is awesome. So yeah, so Kedeisha, I will hand it over to you. 1 second. Let me stop sharing.
Share my screen. And just confirmation that you guys can see the PowerPoint.
Yep.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah, we're
Okay.
good.
All right, so today I want to speak on advancing your data career with community. Like what was just talked about, my name is Kedeisha Bryan. I'm a senior data engineer at Booz Allen Hamilton, and also a co-founder at Data in Motion Data Community. So these are just a couple topics we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to start off talking about myself, big 3 skills of community involvement that I've identified, 3 main types of data communities. Probably my favorite part of the presentation, probably something that probably the biggest takeaway are 3 biggest catalysts in your career, and then recap and questions. It's a small group, so hopefully we can have some Q&A. Hopefully, if y'all have any questions. Okay, so about me, I'm a Navy veteran. I served on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. I was an aviation electrician technician, specializing as a calibration technician. Also, my day job is a data engineer consultant at Booz Allen Hamilton. I currently live down here in the South here in Fayetteville, Georgia. So I'm hoping that changes pretty soon. I'm actually looking forward to be moving somewhere else. And I'm also co-founder and community lead at Data in Motion. Now, I want to preface the whole presentation and say that I really wanted to speak on this topic because personally, I have not been in the data space for that very long, but I've gotten multiple jobs and opportunities and a lot of free mentorship just by being active within the data community. And before I started networking and putting myself out there, I would be seeing like all these opportunities that other people were getting and wondering exactly what was their secret sauce and how they were getting extremely lucky. But eventually I found out it was really just putting yourself out there and just getting involved within the data community. And now I see a lot of folks making that mistake by not really tapping into all the types of resources and relationships that you can gain by putting yourself out there and networking within the data community. One thing I want to put out there, or a couple things, is that these opportunities of advancement it's not for full-blown content creators. You don't need to have thousands of followers. It's pretty much for anyone who would like to advance and get these opportunities. So there's 3 big skills that of community involvement that I've identified. That's building, learning, and teaching. When it comes to building, you want to be building your relationships. So networking can be somewhat of a dirty word, so to speak. For me, for example, I'm an introvert, and so it's a lot easier for me to just approach networking as just learning from other people, figuring out what do they do well, what's their background, how did they get to where they're at now, and learning how can I learn things from them that I can apply to my career and my life immediately, especially from folks in positions that you aspire to be and have some form of a similar background as you do. Another thing that you should also be building is your professional identity. So as you go along in your career, you'll be building social capital and also engaging with folks who also have social capital. And what I like to tell people is think about 3 to 5 things that when you're not in the room and your name comes up, what are 3 to 5 things that you want people to know and remember you for? And what are 3 to 5 things that you'd like any hiring manager to know about you after any sort of interview? When I say 3 to 5 things, please don't say 3 to 5 tools. So if you really like SQL, if you really like Tableau, and you really want to hone into that, that can be one thing. But when I'm thinking about 3 to 5 things, it's more so like soft skills or something like that. So I'll got some in the chat. So
Yeah, go ahead. It was just Jamie saying that he had to leave.
Um, so mainly it's like soft skills. So for example, let's say you're someone who really likes problem solving, and not just like you really like problem solving, you like coming up with frameworks, and you have like a list of frameworks that you apply to like all sorts of problems. That's something that if you're really about that, that can like naturally exude out of you when you talk to people in a professional setting or not. That's something that's like an example that you can come out of that. Or if you like, mentoring or coaching people, um, you really like teaching people and things like that. Those are like the 3 to 5 things that you want to come up with. And whatever those 3 to 5 things are, you want to shape your professional identity around those things. So your resume, your LinkedIn, the way you interact within any sort of communities, you really want to make sure those things are highlighted and people get those areas out of you. The second one is learning from others. So when it comes to building your skills, there's very little reason to build and learn in isolation. So when it comes to like data viz challenges, for example, I normally tell people once you watch any sort of like Tableau course, do makeover Mondays, do social media dashboard competitions, also do like data motion challenges like Python, SQL, and Pandas. We have weekly challenges, and there's also a lot of these communities have Discords or private, even on like Twitter or LinkedIn, wherever you're at. They have communities where you can collaborate, ask questions, and complete these challenges with other people within the community. One thing that I saw the other day was don't build confidence, build evidence. And when I was thinking about it, when you do challenges like what I mentioned before, or small projects, it gives you concrete and tangible evidence of the things that you can do. And all of that ends up building your confidence that you can take with you in future interviews. And this can also help minimize any imposter syndrome that a lot of us deal with. And so the third one is teaching. So you want to make sure you're teaching to those who come behind you. So one of the great things that makes the data community so resourceful is how often people pay things forward. There's still gatekeepers in this field, especially as you go into like data science, for example. And once you land somewhere, you want to make sure that you hold the door open for those who come after you. And things that you learn, you want to pass it along to the next person and teach them things that you wish that you knew, and that can help the next person as well. So we're at big 3: building, learning, and teaching. Okay, so I want to go into what I identify as like the 3 types of data communities. There's like the data community on social media, like Twitter, LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure there's something on TikTok. I'm not there, and probably Facebook as well. Not sure if there's anything on MySpace, but that too. Then there's general data communities, just like Data in Motion. I know there's a bunch of other ones, but these are communities that have like, general data. They have like many different areas like data engineering, data science, data analytics, and SQL, Python. Then you have specialized communities like these Tableau user groups where it's communities that come together around a particular tool or a particular area of data. So starting off with the social media communities, the great thing about these is that you can access and easily connect to the widest audience and folks within the data community. So you can easily connect with folks from all over the world, and you can easily search for people as well. And then my recommendations for anyone who'd like to be involved in, say, like social media, but say you don't want to start posting, is to start commenting on other people's posts. People actually take notice of that. And you can comment on anyone's post. It doesn't have to always be like the people with like the most followers or whatnot. And also send personalized messages if you ever really want to get into contact with anyone. When you do send personalized messages, I want to harp on what I mentioned before. I think it's really best if you really want to talk to anyone, or let's say, for example, when I was at Cox Communications, that's when I started my networking pretty heavily. And any job that I was thinking about, whether it was a data scientist, product manager, or anything, and I wanted to learn more about it, I would reach out to people within the company, and also outside the company, to ask them about what they do. But when I would message them, I would introduce myself, but I'd always mention something within the message where we have some sort of like commonality. So if it's someone at my company, I would say, hey, I'm so and so, and I work at your company. I'd like to talk to you about this and that. Usually, more often than not, you'll get a yes. Or if it's someone that I went to the same school, like we went to the like alumni of the same school, I'll mention that we went to the same school. Something like that, something where you can like share a commonality. If there's no commonality, try to send a message and mention something that you saw something in their profile that you really want to talk to them about, and make it, as long as it looks like it wasn't like a generic copy and paste message, you'll be fine. And also, if you do any projects like dashboards or anything, I highly recommend posting about it on social media. You can also post about them in these other communities as well. But the great thing about like posting on LinkedIn is that there's a wide, you have a bigger reach of folks, and you can easily make new connections and relationships and less effort, in my opinion, because you can just easily find yourself, or your post can be found on anyone's feed. You can easily find folks who are learning the same things as you are, which is also a great starting point to initiate a connection. And also, hiring managers are always lurking on LinkedIn, and I have personally seen posts that have turned into job opportunities. That's always happening continuously, even in this pretty slow job economy right now. And literally today, I had a meeting with someone at Booz Allen Hamilton who actually connected with me from seeing a post that I made on LinkedIn, and who's open to helping me actually network within the company. So I highly suggest people to put themselves out there on social media. So to the general community. So these general communities, they're more private. If you don't really like social media, you don't really like being on there, I highly recommend being involved in at least one private community. There's tons of private groups, but I'll just use DataMotion, for example. You can easily interact with people a little bit easier, in my opinion, because you can have like more back and forths, better conversations. And for some reason, like on LinkedIn, sometimes when you just like commenting, it's not really a lot of back and forth all the time. But you can have like much more better back and forth, intimate conversations in these private communities. But again, when it comes to general communities, it can get a little hectic, especially ones with like, 10,000, 20,000 people. So specialized communities would be like the third tier. These are usually smaller. And the great thing about these is that, there's really like everyone has that common ground of that specialty. So like a Tableau user group, everyone, is all about Tableau, and it's probably a lot easier to like spark a conversation or initiate a conversation. And remember, these are communities that are based around a singular concept, tool, or area of data. For those who they may get lost in like a big general data community and they don't want to bother themselves on social media. Highly recommend being involved in a specialized community, especially if, say, you want to learn Tableau, you want to learn Power BI. Definitely, get yourself into a Tableau user group. I'm pretty sure there's Power BI user groups as well, or something similar to that. Be involved in groups like that, because you can definitely upskill and pretty quickly, in my opinion, and get like pretty good resources and connect with other folks who can really help you. So this section here, I want to talk about three big career catalysts. As you're networking and building your network, you're going to find you're gonna bucket everyone in like different areas. But there's three particular buckets I want to talk about. There's a coach, a mentor, and a sponsor. And I want to talk about a coach first. You know, a coach is someone who you can ask very discreet and technical questions to. They're not folks who you may have like a particular like close relationship with. You know, there might not be people who you'll tell them like your weaknesses or your vulnerabilities. They're just people who, you want to get good at Tableau, they can just give you like the resources and help you get good at Tableau and stuff like that. But very discreet. You can ask, you usually ask them like, hey, what are tips to make a better dashboard? What are tips to design a better dashboard? Things like that. And it doesn't really go beyond, that. And with a coach, their main priority is just kind of helping you get better at that one thing. But they may not really know you that well to really coach you beyond that. And then the next one that I think most people really considers is the mentor. But the mentor is beyond the coach, because a mentor you'll actually have a more personal relationship with. And with a mentor, you can actually share those, vulnerable parts of yourself. And then with a mentor, they'll know you well enough that they can actually, provide you with personal advice, like career advice, beyond, the small stuff, like beyond just like, how do I design a dashboard? With a mentor, you're going to be asking questions like, hey, should I get a master's in analytics or should I get an MBA? Hey, I'm at a crossroads in my career. Should I go data engineer or should I go data science? Hey, I'm stuck at this, I'm stuck where I'm at. I'm trying to get to the next level. What are the things I should like focus on? Or more vulnerable things like, hey, I've been struggling at work and I really need some feedback on how to really navigate the situation that I'm in. That's really what a mentor provides you. It sounds really great. I mean, mentors are not necessarily always hard to come by. And these days, you can get mentorship. There's people that you can talk to like, regularly, like once a week, every, twice a month. And sometimes you can just get mentorship, honestly, just by talking to people as you meet them. I've seen that pretty often just in the data community as I've like meet more people. Sometimes they can just provide you like, on-demand mentorship just right there. They just say something that for whatever reason, they just knew the perfect thing to say to you. And that was like a great, like, great nugget that they would tell you. So that very third one that I want to talk about is a sponsor. And a sponsor is probably the most unique out of the three, because the sponsor is the one with the power and the influence that will put you in positions of advancement that you like to be in. So that's one thing that the coach and mentor may not and probably will not have. The sponsors are the ones that whenever there's a room of opportunities or a room of talking about who should get this advancement, who should get, we have a, who should, get the new manager role, and they're, ranking the different types of folks, options. Who's going to be speaking up for you, and who's going to be championing your name. Whenever there's rooms of opportunities being spoken about of, a new position that they'd like to be filled. A sponsor could be someone who can bring your name up. So a sponsor is someone who's going to have that power and influence in an organization or an industry. So they'll have that power and they will pretty much put their name and social capital on the line to throw your name into something to really kind of zip line your way to really an opportunity. You can really skip the line to a new position. So these are folks, they have the power, so they're usually like, they could be like director level and up. So they're not always the easiest ones to get, but I recommend that if you're just building if you just focus on building relationships and focus on doing your job well, you're going to make a name for yourself, and all of these three are, you're going to just attract them naturally, in my opinion. But you definitely want to, and you definitely want to start, you want to get sponsors in your career, to be quite honest with you, because there's going to be, I don't know about anyone else, but I don't think I've ever really worked in a meritocracy before. And subjectivity is always going to be a part of the game when it comes to choosing people, especially when majority jobs are given through networking. And I know I've had at least one job where a sponsor pretty much helped me get, like, skip the line straight to the interview. And that happens all the time. So I wanted to focus some time there. All right, so this is what I was mentioning before. So I've seen like different numbers, but it's usually like at least 70 to 85. I'm not really sure how they get this number, but 85% of jobs are filled through networking, according to HubSpot. Whatever the real number is, it's very high. And so I hope that you kind of take in that previous slide and focus on really building your network and building relationships, so you can gain the resources and gain the access to positions and that you'd like to get in the future. I wanted to take a moment and talk about some upskilling opportunities. So I mentioned Makeover Mondays before. If anyone's want to get into Tableau or just upskill in data viz, Makeover Mondays is a very good way to do that in less time. Prep and Data is a really good place to learn about or get better at preparation of data. And then shameless plug of the Data in Motion challenges, SQL, Python, Pandas, and data viz. I mean, it's no brainer to not do it. So, and does anyone have any questions?
I don't have any questions. I just have a comment, really. Yeah, when on that slide you were talking about mentors and sponsors. Yeah. I've definitely had my share of I've been in situations where I've had a sponsor, not in the sense of getting a, skipping the line and getting a job or anything like that, which I've also never worked in a meritocracy either. Yeah, but I've definitely been in positions where it's like I had someone that there was a project that I wanted to work on, and this person knew that I had the skills to do it, so that person got me a detail to do that project. So I definitely echo everything you said on this slide, because knowing what especially recognizing what that person, how they can help you, definitely sets the stage as to like where you can go, and fostering those relationships will definitely help. Yeah, I've definitely had some mentors, but I'm thinking of one particular example where it was like I had a tough conversation with somebody and I just said, hey, I could do that project, but they need to do what they need to do or get off the pot, and that person kind of stepped in and got me on the project. So yeah.
So I kind of have a question about this slide too. I've never actually really thought about the difference of all these, so this was a great slide. So does your sponsor or mentor, do they necessarily have to know that they are your sponsor or your mentor, or can you just kind of be like, have them in mind to be, you know what I mean?
They do not have to. That's a good question. And sponsors can be literally, like, for example, I could meet someone today. They can find you on LinkedIn, for example, and say, wow, this person is really good with data viz or something like that. And they could probably have the position or the power to, mention your name to a hiring manager who has an opening.
Yeah.
And they can just champion you just from what they saw on LinkedIn, and maybe they meet you once. It doesn't have to be something where the one thing about sponsors is that out of all the three, you're not going to really talk to the sponsor that often. They're just folks who have the power, and when they say something, people really listen. So when they speak, when they say your name and say, you know, you should really mention this, you should really consider this person, or this person, you know, it's like a shoo-in for whatever that thing that you want.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't have to know. They don't have to know.
Okay. I didn't know if whether there was a formal like, will you be my sponsor? And then they have to say yes.
Yeah, they have to say the word sponsor before you know.
Yeah, this is a great presentation. I actually want to comment on I love the minimalistic the presentations that you did. This is really great. You had like 3 words on each slide, but it worked really well. One of the quotes that I really liked was, "Don't build confidence, build evidence," which is kind of a antidote to imposter syndrome. And I think everybody has imposter syndrome. I do especially. But as long as you have the skills and the portfolio or whatever to back it up, then that should build the confidence. So I really like that. But yeah, let's see. And also the point about teaching, I tell my girls, I don't know if you actually mentioned this, but I was definitely thinking it when you were talking about it, that teaching is actually one of the best ways to learn something. So like when my girls are doing their homework and there's like, well, this is how, like, I got it this way, and well, tell me how you got it, like teach me how to do it. And I find that they actually start learning better once they're actually teaching me. So teaching is definitely one of the best ways to learn and strengthen your skills. But yeah, this was a great presentation. So anyone else have any comments or anything?
I was just gonna say on the imposter syndrome angle, it's very, very probably normal that when you're starting out and you're doing, and starting to progress to more complicated things, that you'll figure something very difficult out, and then all of a sudden it'll be like, it can't be that easy, and then you'll start to second guess yourself. So always, make sure you're checking in with folks, and I think in those moments when you actually realize that you did rise to the challenge, you did figure it out, then that gets you over that hump. But yeah, there's been times where it's like, I'll figure out something, I'll be like, yeah, that can't be right. But I guess I'm smarter than I look.
And all the opportunities that Makeover Monday, I keep like, I've been doing Tableau for so long, and I haven't made it a habit to do Makeover Monday. I think I've done like maybe 2 or 3 of them. I just need to make sure that I just do it every week. And I mean, you don't have to do it. It's called Makeover Monday, but you don't need to do it Mondays. They have data sets going back years that you can do. So
Yeah.
so
I do the prep and data one. It's legit.
Yeah.
But I don't have, and the thing is, like, there's a lot of people that do it, but they don't actually use Tableau prep to do it. So it's like, and the community managers, they don't care. Like, it's not like they're going to be like, oh no, you're blocked,
Yeah.
like, you use pandas, get out of here.
Yeah.
So I use Excel only because I'm just trying to put out something that most people are probably have on their computers. So that there's a lot of folks probably could be doing a lot of these challenges and stuff like that in prep and data, but I'm just trying to get them to like get out of the spreadsheet and kind of go to Power Query, because that's kind of like a gateway to doing more prep work.
Yeah, cool. Thank you, Kedeisha. We really appreciate it. It's a great presentation.
It's awesome.
Thank you. All right, let me stop sharing. Oh no, I'm frozen. Oh, never mind. Uh-oh.
You're frozen? Yeah, let me see if there we go. All right. Okay. All right, you should see my screen now. Okay, so Kedeisha, I don't know if you know, I did accidentally go to this screen earlier, but we do have a challenge coin that we like to give out to presenters. So I think you're well aware of what a challenge coin is, being in the Navy, correct? So for those of you who don't know, these are given out to especially in the military to show appreciation and to say thank you. So our group made our own challenge coin, and these are pictures from different presentations and presenters that we've had. That's Ethan, though. I think he's just showing off the coin, but we'll get in contact with you for a good address, and we'll get this out into the mail for you. So I really appreciate it. Okay, next. So this is a jobs report. If you're looking for a job, but you can scan that QR code and it leads you. So this is USA Jobs. So USA Jobs is just the for government jobs, but there are a lot out there. And Chris, are we working on? Are you working on like something that goes beyond USA Jobs? I thought I saw something.
Yeah, I can share my screen real quick if you.
Sure.
Yeah. So, because I have it up, I'll just go over some jobs that I saw. Yeah. So I want to share that. I want to share this. So I'll put the page where this is at, but so it's just on our blog. It's just a blog post. We've been talking about making it its own page so that people can access it better.
Yeah.
And that'll probably be forthcoming. But basically, you come to this page, and I'll put it in the chat in a bit, but you know, I try to make it work as much as I could with this page, but it doesn't render it completely well. First things first, you just click this and you just expand it. I try to make it phone, like work on a phone as well. You know, it might not be the best, but I guess it works. So for the most part. So if I click here, then I can filter, and then this is in Power BI, but I was platform agnostic on this. So this ties into the USA Jobs API, and then you can it refreshes a bunch of times a day, and you can just, you know, check off any of these. So if you want to do Tableau, then this will filter this. And then there's slicers for veterans preference, military spouse, or National Guard. But that's basically, and I can't even see the screen because this is up here. But let me go ahead and hit that. But basically, you could also, if you're looking for something that's either in Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, you can do that and click this button and it just changes. And then down here is just a scrollable jobs list. So for instance, if you're looking for a Tableau job, you can come here and then see like, okay, where are they posting? I put the map up there. It's not super helpful unless you really zoom in. But you know, probably the most helpful thing is just to come up here, look for what app or technology, and if you hold control, you can say, I want to do Python and Tableau and SQL, and you'll get all the jobs. And then, you know, you scroll down here, it's a little small, but then you can see kind of the ranges and stuff like that. And then on the left-hand side, there's a link, and that'll take you to the job itself. And then the last thing is, even if you're not looking for a government job, I found a TikTok on data TikTok, because there is a data TikTok. It's with Miss Excel's in there too. And then basically you just click this box, and this has a parameter in there, and it kicks out so like just very finely tuned Google search. So instead of like, you know, like I was doing, searching, hey, Python jobs or Tableau jobs or whatever, you click this and it gives you pretty finely tuned, like 89 results to many of these job posting websites for the past 3 days. What's the freshest thing out of the oven? You know, you can just cut. this refreshes again, like probably multiple times a day. We're just putting it out there as a resource. Yes, we're a Tableau user group, but we also know that a lot of the skills are transferable, and if something's in Hawaii and that's where you want to go, and it's something else, then we're giving you the flexibility to kind of go here and do that. So that's pretty much it on that one. Let me go back. Yeah, let me see. So I'm going to go back to the report, and just Tableau jobs as an example, past 3 days, not past 3 days, but what's available in USA jobs. For instance, we'll just go back to just Tableau. You could see like anywhere in the US remote, we got some of the Peace Corps, that's a 5-year term position. So I don't know about that. But Homeland Security, starting out. So if you're trying to get your foot in the door in the federal government, a lot of times they'll post that GS9. GS9 is a good way to get in, especially if you just finish grad school. That's a great way to get your foot in the door, because just with a grad degree, as long as the degree matches what's in the requirements for the position, usually you can get your foot in the door. I saw one the other day, and me and Tim were just like, oh, it was like they were posting 7-9, so you can come in as a 7 and 9, but it was full performance level 14. GS levels only go to 15 grades. So I was like, I've never seen that before, but it was a data science position. And basically, I forgot who it was, but they were hiring it at the 7-9 level. And they were like, we want you to grow in this position until you're a 14. As long as every year, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you'll be a 14, which is, it's a good paycheck. So we have this as a resource. Again, after I stop sharing, I'll put this in the chat. And it refreshes multiple times a day from the API. There's some in here just based on, the search terms. You might see like more to T mechanic, like bleed in there once or twice. Yeah, obviously, they're not really looking for a Viz person, so don't go applying to that one. But most of them are pretty legit. All right.
Yeah, thanks for showing that, Chris. And Chris and I are both government employees, pretty long. I almost have, I think I'm at 19 years now in the federal government. So you're not going to become rich, I think if you've read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, I think Poor Dad was a government worker, but it's a very stable job and very rewarding. So if you're ever thinking about don't discount working for the government. So what else? So that's really the end of the main stuff. The only slide I had left was just a thanks for showing up type of thing. But we did have a challenge that we kicked off last month for survey 32 data. And if you weren't at last meeting, survey 32 was a survey that was conducted in World War II. And they had about, was it 200, Chris, correct me if I'm wrong, 200 white soldiers and then 200 black soldiers, and it was about segregation.
Yeah. So it was pretty much, it was a big survey, right? They surveyed white soldiers and they surveyed black soldiers. It was about their attitudes about serving.
Mm-hmm.
We also put out the Tuskegee Airmen that we did last year as well. So we were just trying to highlight those two data sets for the February challenge.
Yeah.
And I'll put the data sets that we have on our site in the chat. And really, like we have these challenges, but you're free to use these data sets at any time, just because it's not, challenge time doesn't mean that you can't challenge yourself. So
right.
Build your portfolio.
Yep. So I'll share, Chris, you shared what you did last time. I'll share, it's not my best work. I know I'm self-deprecating before I even show it. but I'll show. See, so I was actually had a pretty bad moderate cold past couple days, and I wanted to spend a little bit more time on it. So what it was, survey 32, it was gauging soldiers' attitudes about segregation and whether soldiers should be in separate units or the same. And so there were hundreds of questions, but I picked out five of the key questions. And what I did, I just put the bar charts of the responses overlapping. So the black is for the black soldiers, white for white, and then just the gray is overlap. So it's nothing too fancy. But if you go through these questions, all the way to the last one, do you think white and Negro soldiers at the time they were called soldiers should be in separate outfits, or should they be together in the same outfit? So as you can see, so it was kind of hard to show what the bar charts actually meant, but if you hover over, actually it's not, there you go. So most white soldiers, most of the percentage thought that it should be in everyone should be in separate outfits, whereas the black soldiers felt differently about that. So it's pretty interesting data, and this data, even though the white soldiers for some, at the time, felt that it should remain separate, this survey actually helped end segregation in the military. So based on the other data that they had. So just fascinating how times have changed, and just not that long ago, the military was separated. So we did this for Black History Month. So like we said, this data is on our website, and we have the Tuskegee Airmen stuff there. And if you want to play around, survey data is probably one of the hardest sets of data that you can work with. So it is pretty challenging. But yeah, so this is what I came up with. Chris, do you want to share yours again real quick?
Yeah, and I would just say on the survey data, I know Jamie, you shared last time that you've had experience. You asked some very finely tuned questions, so I'm like, this guy knows what he's talking about. Especially this survey is just a lot of questions that they asked, and there was kind of I don't know what to call it, but it was almost like a rope-a-dope, where it's like, okay, we're going to ask you very banal questions, and then we're going to pepper in some very specific questions, and then it's going to go back to banal. Then, so it was there was kind of a rhyme and a reason how they on the methodology.
I wish it was line by line data, because I was thinking, but when I was first starting it, it's like, oh, I'm going to have a filter where it's just where because they asked about education and where they lived and things like that. But then I realized, there was no way of having that filter and filter the actual data and how they felt about segregation, whether it was more southern states or northern states, or higher education was more accepting, or whatever. I think that would have been fascinating if we could ever get that data.
Yeah. And then there's also another survey on their site that happened after a race riot. So what Dr. Guitry was saying to me in emails and stuff like that was these two surveys I think he was saying that they were referenced in the lead up to the desegregation order in 48. And then also after that, they were I want to say they were used in some sort of as evidence in a legal brief for Brown versus Board. So just a lot of this information has just obviously resonance, because you see it in you could just pick 5 similar questions out of the 2. You don't have to do the whole thing, but you put them side by side, and you start to see the huge, like Tim did on that bar chart, it's not very advanced visualization techniques that you have to do to see like the issues, right?
Yeah.
It just pops out, it hits you in the face. So I'll just share mine real quick. I'm not going to go through it in detail because I did share it last time. But let me go to my screen. And so I think the one thing that I learned was Medgar Evers, who I think he was the head of the NAACP in Mississippi, which is probably the state where you probably needed the most courage as a NAACP head at the time, with everything going on in Mississippi. But he was a man of great courage, and he had this quote attributed to him when he was in the army, because he was an army veteran. He told his brother, after participating on Normandy, and serving in Europe, about how when we get out of the army, we're going to straighten this thing out. And he kind of committed to working for civil rights after he got out of the army. So I kind of wanted to highlight that story because that was something I learned as I was going through this survey and doing research for it. And then I wanted to kind of basically show what environment did this man serve in to make him say that.
Mhm.
So basically I took the white response on left-hand side, and I just, did a quick little path. Instead of doing a bar chart, I just drew a path in Tableau. And then, people have very heated opinions about pie charts. But yes, I did put a pie chart in here, but it was because I was kind of trying to replicate the W.E.B. Du Bois exploding. I don't even know what to call it, but it's a pie chart, but it's showing two different data sets, and the sides are cut out. But I couldn't figure that out in time, so I just did a pie chart. And then obviously it's a little busy with the pie chart, but I put the numbers on the side so you can at least see what the differences were if it was too close. So then you could really hover over and see the differences between the questions on either side. And then I'm not going to open it, but this is just a quick 4 to 5 minute video on Medgar Evers and his service. Just again, I think it would probably have been a lot of work to do the whole survey at once, with all the questions and keeping everything in line. The questions didn't map one-to-one across both surveys, so that was an issue. But picking 5 to 10 and kind of putting them side by side or superimposing them, multi-axis, then you start to see the kind of different perspectives and how that could have affected Black soldiers during World War II. So I did put something in the chat real quick that I kind of one thing that we put out with Alan Hillary at Data Plus Diversity. We did see another thing that came out since we had our last Tuskegee challenge. I thought it was a really cool one. If I can find the window. Let me see real quick. So let me go to, I think I put it in the chat. Yeah, there we go. So Spencer Bauke, and I think I'll probably butcher that, but I'm sure he would butcher mine too. And Alice McKnight. I think they're both. I know Alice is a visionary, but I think he might be too. But this is a cool one because I thought it was a great interpretation because they did it like a PowerPoint slide almost, but the clicker to get to the next slide was the tail of the airplane. So it's I thought it was this is really cool. I would show my kids this, hey, look, then they would probably geek out a little bit. But yeah, so the first slide per se is their hometowns for the Tuskegee Airmen, and then missions, when their missions were, comparison. And then if you keep clicking through, you start to see their victories, and the cross gets bigger as with more victories. And then if you click through again, you get distinguished firing cross, who got him. And then if you click through again, then there's some information about support crews. POWs by date, and by country captured. And I mean, it's just there's just a lot of slide, and then also kind of a thanks and some more information. I thought it was a pretty good one, especially like if you're presenting on this information. It's kind of a cool interpretation where they're using this little image to kind of click through, and it almost becomes its own slide deck.
No, it's really cool. All right, and as Chris said, all those data sets are on our website, visitforvets.com. So you can go there anytime if you want to, and we're going to try to put up more data sets whenever we get them. So anyone else have anything? Comments, questions, anything to share? All right. Well, Chris, anything else? Do you want to wrap it up?
Yeah, no, I'll hang on for a couple of minutes after this. But I really appreciate everybody joining. Kedeisha, that was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, Kedeisha.
Just a lot of good nuggets in there, and a lot of stuff really made sense. So thank you for taking time out of your day, blasting this out to your network, and for all the work you do.